Hi, my name is Diana Withen, and I'm here today to talk to you about nature journals. Keeping a nature journal is a time-honored tradition. It's a practice of drawing or writing in response to nature. Traditionally, its main purpose was to keep a record of one's observations and to learn more about the natural world. But there are also other benefits, such as inspiring a deeper connection with nature, mindfulness, improving your observation skills by consciously using your senses, and connecting with others by sharing the journal. It can be a time to observe and contemplate nature, or just to take a break from the technology-filled world of today. It allows you to capture a moment, a sunset, a critter that you might otherwise have forgotten. Today, we will look at the who, what, why, and how of nature journaling. In the who, we will look at a few famous people that have kept nature journals. The what is a definition of what might be included in a nature journal. The why are the many reasons for keeping a nature journal and how it can be helpful to learn new things. And the how will be looking at kinds of journaling systems. The who, besides hopefully you, there are thousands, maybe millions of people worldwide that journal. Some are scientists, some are artists, but most people are folks like us that just love nature. There have been quite a few famous people, such as Aristotle. Aristotle was a philosopher that believed that nature does nothing in vain. This was central to the way that he understood organisms. Aristotle believed that nature's principles could be discovered with careful observation and reasoning. He also introduced the concept of the scientific method, which relies heavily on observation. And he also came up with the first known classification system for life forms. Leonardo da Vinci, of course, is famous for his art, but his real legacy is his journals. He filled over 50 journals with over 25,000 pages of observations on many different topics. Da Vinci used his journals as a way to try to understand the world. Bill Gates bought one of his journals for $30 million in 1994, making it the most valuable manuscript in the world. James Audubon was an ornithologist, most famous for his painting of birds, but he also kept journals, and he created a journal for his trip down the Missouri River, where he did a study on North American quadrupeds for 8 months. Dorothy Wordsworth, she loved to hike and climb mountains, and she walked very fast day and night and filled journals with her observations. She never cared about being famous like her famous brother William Wordsworth, but it's evident now that when he wrote one of the most famous poems in the English language, Daffodils, he borrowed several lines of the poem from Dorothy's Grasmere journals. Lewis and Clark created some of the most famous journals during their almost 8,000-mile expedition. They drew around 140 maps and described over 200 new plant and animal species in their 2-year expedition to the West. Clark was also added a little humor to his journals. Charles Darwin was a nature collector from an early age, and he also kept pocket diaries and secret notebooks for over 50 years. He collected specimens when he took his trip to the Galapagos Islands, and some of the things he collected were giant tortoises. And one of the giant tortoises that he collected, Harriet, became famous. She was supposedly a gift to the Queen, Victoria, and when she was about the size of a dinner plate. Queen Victoria then gave her to Australia, where Harriet died at the age of 176 in the care of the Irwins. But that is not why I put the Queen's picture in here. The Queen herself wrote an average of 2,500 words a day on many different subjects, including nature, as well as sketching many landscapes. In her writings, if her writings were published today, they think it would fill about 700 volumes. Florence Bailey has been referred to as the First Lady of Ornithology. Her book, The Birds Through an Opera Glass, is considered to be the first bird field guide in modern tradition. She also is an activist for protecting birds. Mary Hunter Austin was an early nature writer. Her book, The Land of Little Rain, describes the fauna and flora of the people of the American Southwest. And last but not least, we've got Rachel Carson, whose most famous book, Silent Spring, advanced the global environmental movement. She spent her whole life exploring nature and started writing at the age of 8. So that brings us to what is a nature journal. According to the Sierra Club, it is a place to grow your thoughts, feelings, ideas, activities, observations, and relationships with the natural world. It is an opportunity to interpret your inner thoughts about the natural world and a space where the natural world can flow into you and leave a permanent mark. So it can be a place to record data with detailed descriptions of a new plant or an animal species you encountered. It can be complete with drawings and notes on behaviors, or it can be a place for you to write your thoughts about what you're seeing and hearing and smelling on a particular hike. There is no right or wrong way to keep a journal. It should not be a chore, but something that you enjoy. Journals are a way for us to remember and learn and are often meant to be seen by others. So in that tradition, this is a page from my journal. I tend to be a collector. I pick things up as I walk along. And then when I get home, I might put them into a notebook and do some research on what I saw, add notes to it. And it's a way to help me learn more about the things I see. So should a nature journal be subjective or objective, or both? Some people prefer the more scientific journals and want it to be completely objective. Other people want it to be both. I prefer a combination of both. You may want to write a poem in your journal, or if you're not good at writing poems, like I'm not good, then you can take and put a poem in your journal. This is one of my favorite ones here, the poem called Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You might also want to include some of your favorite quotes. So why keep a journal? Journals encourage us to observe and reflect. The power of the nature journal is not in a single entry. It is really the transformative power of observation itself over time. It requires us to slow down, to look, to listen, smell, feel, and even taste your surroundings. The longer you spend capturing your impressions and reflections, the more you learn and remember and appreciate nature. The nature journal is for you, to help you learn through reinforcement. It helps with remembering an experience or a feeling. When you return home, you can pull out the field guides or the computer to learn more about what you've seen. A journal is a place to express yourself and your passion for nature. Journaling helps people connect to nature, practicing using their senses. And journaling can help us see patterns and make connections. Because you are documenting information, collecting data, it is easier to go back through your nature journal to see the ecological patterns and see the big picture more clearly. There are really literally thousands and thousands of interactions to explore outside between birds and plants and seasons and weather and insects, soil conditions, ecology, mammals, and your place in all of it. But if you don't have some way of sorting through all this information, nature can easily feel like a wall of green. This is why writing your observations in a journal can really help you unlock your brain's ability to unpack the mysteries and make amazing discoveries. I like this quote from the poet Nikki Giovanni. Writing is a conversation with reading. It is a dialogue with thinking. So this is why I think sums up why journaling can be so important. We've talked about the who, the what, the why, and now we are getting on to the how. It's important to remember that a journal is a work in progress. You'll be looking at things at different times of the year, and things are always changing in nature. Journals can include record keeping, which is gathering data, and it can include things like temperatures, bird counts, photos, maps, rainfall. Journals can also include research. You may want to set up your own experiments, or you may want to include other people's experiments. When you're at home, you have access to field guides, identification keys, books, and the World Wide Web to do more research on what you've seen. And journals can include reflections, maybe a story about your favorite tree or a poem about a salamander. You can put whatever you want to in your journals. You should use all of your senses. Try to get away from just how things look and focus on your other senses. You may even want to close your eyes sometimes when you're out. You want to touch gently. You can feel the cool breeze on your cheek, or touch the bumps of a shell or the texture of a tree trunk. Smell deeply. Is there a pleasant scent or a foul odor in the air? Is it earthy, flowery, pungent, or sweet? Listen intently. Notice the cooing of a dove, the wind in the pines, or the gurgling of a flowing stream. Speak softly. You can talk to yourself as you make your observations. Describe in detail what you're observing and pretend maybe that there's a friend there that has to draw a picture based on your words. Be very specific, noting the colors and the smoothness and the scent. There are several different types of nature journals. Some are more objective, some subjective. They can be a daily account of observations at a location combined with a running record of individual species of plants and animals, or something more creative. Here we will look at a couple of different types of journals. One way is using the Grinnell Method. This was created by Joseph Grinnell, who was an American field biologist, and he made extensive studies of the fauna of California, and is credited for introducing this method of recording precise field observations. The Grinnell method is rigid, time-consuming, and requires a great deal of dedication and discipline in order to maintain the format. In the Grinnell system, it will include species with the date, a time, a location, the weather, the behavior of the species, and it is a great way to document field observations for the purpose of research. It is a highly organized record of work. Another type is the Phonology Journal. A Phonology Journal is an account of seasonal changes in a location and the effect on the life forms. The definition of phonology is the study of when certain biological events that depend on climate take place. So it could be things like migrations or plant growth, breeding, hatching, things like that. You might just want to focus on a certain thing, like when certain plants are sprouting, blooming, and seeding. Some people like to use calendars or do this with photos. Other types of nature journals may want to focus on a particular location. It could be a chronological journey of a trip, maybe a certain hike, or like Lewis and Clark or the Audubon did. There are many people that like to journal online. They like to blog, which is basically an online journal, because they want to share what they have seen with the world. A few ideas for nature journaling. Nature journaling can include a life list of the birds you see, or insects, leaves, flowers that you have observed. It might only include sketches or leaf or tree rubbings. You can attach objects like they have here, and I like to do this onto the page. You might like to just do measurements and charts and look for patterns. You can include favorite quotes from your favorite naturalist. You can also keep a journal with a group of friends or family. You could focus on your hikes and just keep a hike journal. Or you can, again, do online type things. There are actually today a lot of nature journaling clubs online where you can share your ideas and get ideas from other people. You can set up a research project. So lots of different things that you can do. A few tips. Try to look at things like it's the first time that you've seen it. And I have found the best way to do this is to have kids on your trip, on your hike or whatever. Take notes as you go. You're going to be surprised at how much you forget. Again, try to catch the details. Try sketching. The simple act of trying to draw something instantly makes you look more carefully and examine things in greater depth. So even if you're not good at drawing, it's not going to hurt to try. You don't have to show it to anybody. Use your memory. When you get home, you can add to your journal. You can also use your phone and camera. So one thing you might want to, if you're out in the woods, you might want to put it on airplane mode so that you save your battery. But if you don't have paper with you, you can take notes on your phone. You can print out the pictures that you take or sketch them later on in your journal. And another kind of fun thing to do with your phone is to get GPS data from where you were exactly when you were seeing things. When you're out there, seek evidence of activity. You might want to look for tracks or scat or a nest. And focus on the process, not the product. The process of journaling can break old patterns of awareness to help you look closer at things, even if you never do anything with the journal. A journal should be playful, helpful, adventuresome, and an extension of yourself. The journal is yours, your unique response to the world. So thanks for listening and enjoy your time outside. Bye.